What's up, everyone? It's Matt Mrozik, aka MVM397, with a little tutorial. So last night I posted some photos of my first few steps in doing the reverse wash technique for the emblems and sleeves and shield and all that stuff on the 1/72 Sinanju, and I knew I was going to get a lot of questions, and I expected that. But anyway, if you didn't see the photos, basically the first steps were to, after you prime your part and everything's all ready for paint, you lay down a gloss coat of lacquer black. Now this is very important that these first two colors are lacquer. Actually, the next three steps are lacquer. The first coat is lacquer black gloss, and then you're going to spray a metallic color. In this case I sprayed gold, Mr. Color GX red gold to be exact, right here, and it's really a pretty color. It's got a little red in it, so it's got a nice it's not so neutral, it's a little warmer. So first coat is gloss black, second coat is your metallic of your choosing, and the last coat, and this is actually the most important layer, is it has to be a lacquer gloss coat. You cannot use acrylic and you cannot use enamel, because the next step, we're going to use an enamel paint, and we're going to use some enamel thinner or lighter fluid to wipe away and expose our trim. So last night I got as far as spraying all the parts with the color, and this has been sprayed with Mr. Color GX clear, so it's nice and shiny, and it's got a gloss coat on it. It's dried for 24 hours. I tested the back side with my cleaner to make sure it's not going to eat through it, and instead of using enamel thinners, I'm going to use lighter fluid. So the paint I'm going to use for the black is a Model Master flat black. This is an enamel paint. This has to be an enamel. This will not work if it's an acrylic or a lacquer. So this step has to be enamel. And they instruct you to, on this it instructs you to use their enamel thinner, but instead of using their enamel thinner, I'm actually going to thin it with lighter fluid, because I did a test on the back, and I've done this in the past. Right here I tested the enamel thinner, and it actually rubbed through the lacquer gloss coat. I tested everywhere else, and I used the lighter fluid. So the lighter fluid is less aggressive, but it will still wipe away the enamel paint. So don't use enamel thinner, use lighter fluid. I use Roncinol. This is just good old, it's been around since forever. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to mix up a little of this flat black in a mixing cup, and thinning ratio, just mix it like you normally would any other paint. Just thin it so it's like a milky consistency, and we're not going to put a lot of paint on. You don't need a lot. Actually, if you can put as little amount of paint in there on the part as possible, it's better, because less cleaning to do. So I've got my mixing stick here. I'm just going to clean off this red paint. I was testing red colors just a second ago for the armor. So I'm just going to clear this off. I always like to clean my mixing. Some guys don't clean their mixing sticks, which is kind of weird to me, but I'm going to go ahead and clear that off. I'm going to give this a good stir. And I'm just going to show you a couple pieces, so I'm not going to make a lot of paint. Just going to put a little bit in here. And also, this will dry really fast with the lighter fluid. The lighter fluid evaporates very quickly. So don't mix up a lot of paint, because you're just going to end up wasting it. So I just put enough thinner in there, or lighter fluid, and it's still a little thick. I don't want it too thin, and I don't want it, you just want it right. Still a little thick. And I don't have a mixing ratio, so if you ask me what the ratio is, I'm just going to say until it goes through the airbrush nicely. I always get a question, what's your mixing ratio? You know what? There's no science to it. Each color is a little bit different. Each paint's a little bit different, so I don't have a formula. Until it goes to the airbrush the way I want it to, that's my ratio. So I don't have an answer for a ratio. So if you ask, the answer is going to be I don't know. Alright, got my airbrush here, it's been cleaned out. Pour my paint here. I'm going to give it a little test on the right here. So see, it's coming out pretty nicely, nice and smooth. Just going to blow this part up a little bit. Now this stuff stinks. I will not kid you. I think it stinks worse than lacquer paints. personally. The lighter fluid in particular just stinks. Another good rule of thumb, don't smoke while using this, because this is lighter fluid. You'll blow yourself up. And we're going to spray the whole part. I'm just going to do real light at first. And this dries pretty much right when it hits the surface. I'm going to spray the whole part because most of this is going to stay black. And we're just going to expose the gold trim. That's going on a little dusty, so I'm actually going to add a little more lighter fluid in here. I don't want it dusty, I want it smooth. I'm actually going to lower my air pressure a little bit too. I think it may be drying too fast. There we go. There we go. Now it's going on good. I had a little too thick. And this is actually an extra piece in the kit. I got 2 of these for some reason, so it's always good to get an extra piece to try on. Test it on that first. But this is the technique I've used for every single Sinanju I've ever done. I've done a lot of them. This is just a bigger. Okay, so now we're going to let that dry. And you're going to let it dry, I'd say 30 minutes or so. You don't want it to dry, you know, you could actually let it dry overnight, it'd be okay, but we're going to let it dry for about 30 minutes. I'll do another piece real quick. Let's do one of the sleeves because it's got a lot of trim on it. So everyone gets really, they get scared of this technique, but it's really not, again, I say this all the time, it's not real hard, it's just time consuming. And it's messy, this next step is messy. You're gonna get your, anyway, I'll talk about it when we get to it. But you really want to make sure you get a nice coat of black in the recesses because that's what's going to stay black. Alright, so we're going to let those dry for a little bit, about half an hour, and we'll come back and I'll show you the next step, which is the magic of this whole process. So I'll be back in a little bit. Yeah, okay, continuing on with the reverse wash process. So I just sprayed my flat black about 15-20 minutes ago. It's dried pretty good. I even hit it with a hair dryer just to speed the process up a little bit so it's nice and flat. So to go over the process again, for everyone who's going to ask me 100 questions about this, this is called the reverse wash technique. It's actually really simple and it takes advantage of a couple properties of different paints, particularly lacquer paints and enamel paints. So the first step in this whole process was to, after your part is ready for paint, make sure you primer it, sand it, get all the imperfections out. You're going to lay down a gloss black lacquer. You're going to let that dry for a little bit. Then you're going to apply metallic, whatever color you want. In this case, I've got Mr. Color GX Red Gold. After your metallic has dried for a little bit, you're going to lay down a gloss lacquer. It has to be a lacquer. It cannot be an enamel and it cannot be an acrylic. It has to be a lacquer for this process to work. I've let my clear coat and everything dry for 24 hours. It's good to go. I tested a piece with the lighter fluid, which is what we're going to use next, and it didn't go through, so we're good to go. So once that was dried, I sprayed on some flat black, which you just saw, reduced with lighter fluid, not enamel thinner. The enamel thinner is a little too harsh. This is a little less aggressive and less chance of you going through your clear coat. Even though they are supposed to be incompatible, you can eat through the lacquer clear coat if you use too much, if you use enamel thinner, or if you're too aggressive with the lighter fluid. So this step is this is a tricky part. It's messy, so I've got gloves on, I've got a paper towel down. I've got 2 tins here. I'm gonna use one for basically a clean lighter fluid, one for a dirty. So then the next step is where the magic comes in. We're gonna go through and we're going to wipe away the enamel paint off of the gold, revealing the gold, leaving the black. So take a little. Now, lighter fluid evaporates really quickly, so just put a little bit out so you don't waste it. And I've got two types of Q-tips. These are hobby Q-tips. They're the Tamiya type. These are all nice because they do not shed and they have a point, so those come in. And I've got plain old Q-tips over here. These are good for the initial cleanup, but they do shed, so you have to be careful. So what I typically do is I'll put them in my hand and I'll just, I'll tighten up the weave a little bit. I think a bunch of guys use makeup Q-tips too, which are kind of like the hobby Q-tips, but they're not quite as expensive. So let's get this skirt piece first right here, and this is where the magic comes in. You're going to get your Q-tip and you're going to put some lighter fluid on it. You don't soak it because you'll get lighter fluid everywhere and you don't want to do that. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to simply go in here, and I try to keep my piece on a skewer. I don't want to handle the piece while I'm doing this because it's just messy. So I'm going to start right here, and watch this. We're going to just really lightly wipe away this enamel paint, and voila, there's the gold we sprayed. Now that gold is covered with a lacquer clear coat, so as long as I don't sit here and rub the crap out of it, it'll be protected. If I sit here and I rub too much, you can go through, even though you're not supposed to be able to, but it's a solvent. So a good rule of thumb is basically wipe a little bit and just kind of leave that area alone for a few minutes and move on. This is a slow process. This will take a while. On a master grade Sinanju, to clean up all the areas, it takes me a good hour and a half, 2 hours just to do this part of it. So again, as I say all the time, not particularly hard, time consuming. So I think a lot of guys who are wanting to produce really nice looking models don't realize how much time it takes to do this. And they may get frustrated or lose interest. So I get a lot of compliments on my work, but especially these big kits, it's hundreds of hours. So I put the time in. I'm going to go ahead and do the backside here. I'm not sure if you'll see this. Now, as your Q-tip gets full of paint, you'll want to switch. You'll go through a ton of Q-tips. So keep a lot on hand. You want to keep that Q-tip clean. So you can see I fill it up with lighter fluid and I dab it on the paper towel just to get rid of the excess. And I'm not putting any pressure on. I'm letting the lighter fluid do all the work. And I'm going to come over here. I'm actually going to break this stick so I can get it in frame. It's too long. There we go. I can be in frame. And I'm going to get a little more lighter fluid. Again, I only put a little bit of fluid at a time because it evaporates very quickly. This bottle's almost empty. I'll probably have to go buy some more before I do much more of this. So I use these big Q-tips for the initial cleanup, and then I get the hobby ones and I get down in there with the point to get right down in where it meets the flat black. Now the beauty of the flat black is that if you accidentally wipe a little down into the recess, it touches up very, very nicely with the little brush. You can go in there with a brush and touch it up, and it will touch up nicely. So this is it. This is the reverse wash technique. I probably won't sit here and do this whole piece because this one piece will take me a good, we're at 6 minutes already, but I had some talking. This one piece will take me 15 minutes maybe to clean up. So again, if you're willing to put the time in, you can get some really, really cool results. So that Q-tip is pretty much gone. I'll get a new one out. And just keep wiping. It's real light. Don't use any pressure. Let the technique do its thing. So if you watch this video and you listen to the video, All your questions should be answered. I don't mind answering questions. What I don't like doing is answering the same question over and over again when people haven't watched the video or listened to the videos I do, because then I just end up repeating myself over and over again. So if you've watched the video and there's something I have not mentioned and you have a question, feel free to do so. But if you ask a question that I know I've answered, I'm going to say watch the video and listen, because I talk while I do this. So this is it, reverse wash technique. Pretty cool. There are guys that will go and hand brush this. I think that's crazy tedious. This is not that this isn't tedious, but this ensures that you have a very nice, smooth, metallic finish. There are some guys that can hand paint better than I can airbrush. That is not me. Obviously, I airbrush better than I hand paint. So the tricky part, the real tricky part, is when you get in here and you get down right to where you get right into that recess. So go as close as you can to the recess. And I'll probably screw up every once in a while. I'll probably take off a little too much paint, and I'll just go in there and I'll touch it up with a brush. And the nice thing about flat paint is that it touches up very nicely. It blends in very well to itself. Alright, so we're just going to keep a little more fluid.
What's going on? Oh my gosh. What's going on? It's terrible. They came in and they burned the entire village. They got reading we were getting the ship ready to come join the Alliance when the Ocasas.
And once this process is done, this piece is finished. There's no top coat or anything that goes on top of it. You can if you want to. If you want, another nice thing about this is that it leaves the glossy metallic and the flat recessed. If you want to top coat it, then everything will be the same sheen, which that's your prerogative. I like it where the metallic's shiny and then the recessed is flat. So that's what we're looking at so far. And just keep wiping.
Where are your animals at? I let all of my animals go. I don't want them to get caught up in the war. I know they'll be safer away from here.
So let me show you getting even closer to those recesses. We're going to add a little more lighter fluid. We're going to get one of these hobby Q-tips. It's got the point, and we can get in there even tighter. And you'll go through more of these than you will the other ones, because once your tip is dirty, it's pretty much time to get rid of the Q-tip. But you can get right down in there. But there you go. So other than really getting down in the recesses, that's the technique. So I don't know, I'll probably go back and I'll probably reveal this part here too in gold. What's it doing the box art? Can't see right now. I've got my pictures up here. I think they make this part gold too, so I may reveal that. But that's really it. So you know, you can get an idea of what this part's going to look like right there. Pretty cool. Let's look at the sleeve a little bit, because it's got one of those neat emblems on them. Same process, just a lot more area to cover. Oh, see, I had too much lighter fluid on there. I wanted to get down in there. What you don't want to do is have lighter fluid like soak into that recessed area because it just softens the paint. It's not the end of the world because you can just let it dry and it's not going to hurt it, but you really don't want to disturb that paint in the recesses if you can help it. I mean, depending on what you want to do, you could just wipe it like this and call it done, but I'll go in there and I'll get in the recesses and stuff. I'll just make it look a little more finished off. And then the legs have a bunch of trim on them too, but I'll have to do those at the very end because the way the kit's designed is that it's this part with the gold trim is actually molded onto the armor. It's all one piece. So I have to wait to get all my reds done and everything else done in decals before I do this because the way the finishes are going to work, I need to do these last on the legs. So this whole process is very similar to doing a panel line wash. Basically, you're filling the recesses with paint, and then you're wiping away the excess paint that you don't want. So same concept, just on a much bigger scale. So anyway, that's the reverse wash technique. Again, it's not real hard. It's just time consuming. So give it a shot and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. It's Matt Mrozek signing out. Have a happy New Year's. We'll catch you guys next year. Bye.